Welcome to Shadow Fable, where we explore the eerie, the mysterious, and the unexplained. Each episode dives deep into tales that send shivers down your spine and make you question the world you thought you knew. Tonight, we journey to the quiet town of Abbeville, Alabama, where an unsettling figure lurks in the shadows. Locals call her Huggin Molly. Is she a grieving spirit, a sinister force, or something in between? Stay with us as we unravel the legend of Huggin Molly, a story that's both chilling and unforgettable. In the small town of Abbeville, Alabama, there's a story everyone knows but no one wants to talk about after dark. Beneath the charm of oak-lined streets and old Southern hospitality, there's a dark figure that haunts the night. Locals whisper about late-night sightings, a towering shadow moving unnaturally fast, or the sound of eerie, disembodied laughter echoing through the quiet streets. For some, it's the phantom embrace that lingers most vividly, a cold, suffocating grip that leaves its victim shivering and speechless long after the figure has vanished. Locals call her Huggin Molly. She's said to be a ghostly woman dressed in black, towering over everyone, with arms that stretch out to pull you into a terrifying embrace. Tonight, we're diving into this chilling tale. Is Huggin Molly a protector, a warning, or something far more sinister? Imagine the town of Abbeville as the sun sets. The gentle hum of cicadas fills the air, blending with the distant creak of an old rocking chair on a weathered porch. The sky turns red and purple, and the streetlights flicker on, casting dim light over the narrow streets. The air is warm and heavy with the smell of pine and magnolia, mixed with the faint aroma of fried catfish from a nearby diner. But something about the night feels wrong. There's an uneasy silence, like even the crickets and frogs know to stay quiet. People hurry inside, locking their doors and closing their curtains. Parents tell their kids to stay close, whispering warnings like, "Don't wander off, or Huggin Molly will get you." No one wants to admit they believe the stories, but their nervous glances at the dark streets tell a different story. Abbeville's old buildings, with their weathered bricks and iron railings, seem to hold secrets of their own. The alleys are shadowy, the street corners feel darker than they should, and every sound seems amplified in the quiet. Even the smell of fried catfish from the local diner feels like a reminder of the normal life people cling to in a town haunted by its past. The streets seem to stretch endlessly at night, each turn feeling like a portal to another shadowy world. Abandoned lots, overgrown with wild grass and vines, seem alive with the whispers of things unseen. The groves beyond the town limits stand like sentinels, their twisted branches blocking out the stars. If you stop long enough to listen, you might hear faint sounds, footsteps, whispers, or the haunting cry of a woman. The story of Huggin Molly has been around for as long as anyone can remember. Some say she was a grieving mother, wandering the streets after her child died of fever in the 1800s. Others claim she was a strict schoolteacher who kept children safe by scaring them away from danger. But not all versions of the story are comforting. In some tellings, Molly is vengeful. They say her hugs aren't kind but chilling, her touch like ice that leaves people frozen with fear. Witnesses describe her as incredibly tall, her eyes glowing faintly in the darkness. If she catches you, her screams echo in your ears long after she's gone. Kids grow up hearing the stories, and many have strange dreams about Molly. In these dreams, she appears as a towering figure draped in shadow, her arms stretched wide as if preparing to embrace them. Some describe her whispering cryptic phrases, like warnings or pleas for help, though the words are never clear enough to understand. For others, the dreams are even more vivid. Molly's glowing eyes lock onto theirs. filling them with a bone-deep fear they can't shake even after waking. These dreams leave a lasting impression, making some wonder if she's trying to communicate a hidden message or simply reliving the moments of her sorrowful past. They dream of a tall figure standing over them, whispering words they can't understand. Some wake up with faint marks on their arms, as if they'd been grabbed in their sleep. These tales make Huggin Molly more than just a scary story. She's a part of the town's identity. Parents use the legend to keep their children safe, warning them to stay inside after sunset. Teenagers, emboldened by curiosity, dare each other to venture out at night, hoping for a glimpse of the infamous figure. But for those who've encountered her, the experience is anything but thrilling. A local farmer once claimed that his livestock began acting strangely one night, bleeding and running in circles. When he went to investigate, he saw a shadowy figure standing at the edge of his property. "She just stood there," he said, "watching me. I turned back to the house, and when I looked again, she was gone." One summer night, Caleb and his friends decided to test the legend. Armed with flashlights, they walked to the old oak grove on the edge of town, daring each other to see how far they'd go. The grove was overgrown, the trees thick with vines, and the air felt cooler the deeper they went. Every sound, a rustling leaf, a snapping twig, made them jump. "This is dumb," said Mia, one of Caleb's friends. Her voice shook as she gripped her flashlight. "We should just go home." "It's just a story," Caleb said, though he didn't sound convinced. As they reached a small clearing, a high-pitched scream split the air. They froze. Their flashlights darted around, searching for the source of the sound. That's when they saw her. Huggin Molly stepped out of the shadows. She was enormous, her black dress flowing as if moved by an invisible wind. Her arms stretched out, long and skeletal, as if she was reaching for them. Panic took over. Caleb dropped his flashlight and ran, his heart pounding as Molly's laughter echoed behind him. The group scattered, each running blindly through the trees. When Caleb finally stopped, gasping for air, he realized something horrifying. The footprints he left behind were joined by larger ones, as if someone or something had been following him. The next morning, Caleb returned to the grove with a camera. The forest felt different in daylight, quieter, almost serene. But as he retraced his steps, he found something chilling. The faint outline of large, human-like footprints pressed into the soft earth, their shape unmistakably larger than his own. Dr. Eleanor Graves wasn't from Abbeville, but she'd heard enough about Huggin Molly to make her want to investigate. A folklorist and paranormal researcher, she set up in the local motel, turning her room into a research hub filled with maps, notebooks, and strange equipment. Dr. Graves talked to the townspeople to collect their stories. Mrs. Carter, a retired librarian, said she'd seen Molly when she was a child. "She hugged me so tight I couldn't breathe," Mrs. Carter said, her voice trembling. "But when I woke up, I was back in bed, and my parents said I was sleepwalking." Deputy Harris shared dashcam footage of a dark figure crossing the road. "We searched the area," he said, "but there was nothing. No footprints, no tracks, just nothing." Tommy Wells, a local mechanic, said Molly might have saved his life. "I was about to drive home drunk when I saw her. She screamed so loud I stopped the car. That screams the reason I'm still here." Dr. Graves recorded strange things during her research. In the grove, the temperature dropped suddenly, and her audio recordings picked up whispers that no one else heard. The more she investigated, the more she believed Molly was more than just a story. During one late-night investigation, Dr. Graves left a recorder in the grove and monitored it from a safe distance. The device picked up faint humming, followed by a sharp cry that caused the equipment to malfunction. When she retrieved it the next morning, the recording was partially erased, but the words "stay away" were barely audible. Dr. Graves uncovered old records that added new layers to the legend. One theory was that Molly was a woman who lost her mind after her child's death and was sent to an asylum in the early 1900s. Another story connected her to a murder in 1923. A woman matching Molly's description was found strangled near the grove. Even older documents hinted at something darker. A map from the 1800s showed the grove as a burial site for victims of a yellow fever outbreak. Could Molly's spirit be tied to these graves? Or was she connected to the Veil Society, a secret group rumored to perform rituals in the grove? Dr. Graves began to suspect that Molly wasn't just one person but a force tied to Abbeville's history. In her journal, Dr. Graves wrote about a recurring dream she began to have. In it, a tall woman in black stood at the foot of her bed, whispering, "Leave us in peace." The dreams left her feeling drained, as though a piece of her energy had been taken. These experiences only deepened her resolve to uncover the truth. Determined to get answers, Dr. Graves spent days meticulously preparing for her night in the grove. She pored over her notes, reviewing every detail of the encounters reported by locals, and carefully planned her approach. She packed a thermal camera, a high-quality recording device, and a notebook, each item chosen with precision. As she entered the grove, her heart raced, and a chill ran down her spine. The trees loomed overhead, their gnarled branches forming a canopy that blocked out the moonlight. Despite her resolve, the oppressive darkness made her question if she was truly ready for what lay ahead. At last, she set up her equipment in a small clearing, her hands trembling slightly as she turned on the camera and recording device. She brought a thermal camera and a recording device, hoping to capture proof of Molly's existence. The night was eerily quiet, and every creak of the trees made her heart race. At 3 a.m., the air turned icy. Her camera picked up a glowing shape moving through the trees. And then Molly appeared. She was massive, her eyes glowing faintly. Dr. Graves froze as Molly's scream filled the air, louder than anything she'd ever heard. Her recording device malfunctioned, and the camera footage turned to static. When the sun rose, locals found Dr. Graves unconscious at the edge of the grove, clutching her journal. Her final entry read, "She's not evil. She's not good. She's a warning, a protector, and a curse. Beware the embrace of Huggin Molly." After the incident, her camera was recovered, though the footage was almost entirely corrupted. What remained was a single frame. A blurred figure cloaked in black, her arms reaching toward the lens. To this day, the story of Huggin Molly continues to haunt Abbeville. Some believe she's a ghost protecting the town, watching over its residents and intervening when danger looms. Stories like Tommy Wells's recount how her screams stopped him from driving drunk, perhaps saving his life. Others, however, see her as a spirit of vengeance, her chilling embrace and haunting presence punishing those who stray too far into the unknown. The contrast between these beliefs leaves the legend shrouded in mystery, making it impossible to determine whether she is a savior, a tormentor, or both. Others think she's a spirit of vengeance. But one thing is certain: if you're out after dark, watch your back. You never know when Huggin Molly might appear.